Well, hello everyone. I wanted to show you a hack that I've been using for a long time and I've never taught before. I've always held back because in a sense it's so powerful. It's such a dirty little secret, such a shortcut that it could really shortchange you in your learning once you know it. And so I wanted you to learn the conventional paths and then I wanted to show it this time with the understanding that its real purpose is to help you with chapter 3 ideas, that is ideas involving systems of equations. That's what convinced me to show it now, is that it really is a good tool for looking at systems of equations and immediately deciding whether or not they have solutions. And so I'm going to make a second video after I show the hack here, and that second video is going to be aimed at using it in systems of equations. So be sure to check that one out. It will be linked to at the end of this one. Okay, I'm going to actually work a problem from the written homework for chapter 2. This is from section 2.3. It was problem 46. It asks you to find the slope and the y-intercept of this equation. Now, to use a hack, you have to make sure the thing is in standard form. That's always first. And standard form is what's used in all chapters from all algebra books on systems of equations. It looks like this. Notice the variables x and y are in alphabetical order on the left side, and the constant is by itself on the right side, and that's what we have here. Alphabetical order, and then the constant on the right side. When you have it in this form, you can utilize the hack. Now, I'm going to make the equation a little bit bigger here and show you the hack. And keep in mind I do this in my head. Now, I know the slope here is -5/4 and the y-intercept is 1. I simply can read it off from doing it so many times. And that's the goal here, so that you can simply look at this in standard form and read it off. Until you get there, though, I'm going to show you a bit of a kludge for getting to the answers. What you want to do is you want to make or imagine this letter A. Now, it's a half-formed A, but it'll get you going in the right direction, because what the A does here is it shows you that these numbers divide up into two fractions. This is going to be the bottom of both fractions. This side will give us the slope, this over this, and this side will give us the y-intercept, top of the fraction, bottom of the fraction, 4/4. Notice for the y-intercept, I just simply take this number over this number, and that is my y-intercept, 0, 1. Now this side, there's a slight nuance, a wrench or a curveball that you have to handle. I take 5/4, sure, that does not quite give me my slope. What you have to do is put a negative sign in front of whatever these two numbers are. And so that's where this minus comes from, and the slope is -5/4. Now, knowing these two pieces of data, I could in fact graph this. And in fact, that's what this problem 46 asks you to do, was to graph it. But rather than graph this one, what I thought I'd do was actually graph one from the midterm study guide. Now, the midterm study guide is going to be released pretty soon. And this is actually problem 9 from it. And what I ask you to do here is identify the graph of this equation. And there are 4 choices down there below. And so what I do is utilize the hack to pick up the slope and the y-intercept. The way when you first learn this, the proper technique that you now all can follow is to put this into y equals mx plus b format and then read off the slope and the y-intercept. The hack allows you to simply read it off without doing any manipulations. So it really is the adult way of doing this, and so let's practice it here. Again, I'm going to draw in that half-formed A just to get you to see the two fractions that we're dealing with. And we have here for the slope, we're going to have 3/2 with a negative sign in front of it. So the slope is -3/2. And the y-intercept is simply this over this, 12/2, or 0, 6. Now, let's use this as our first piece of data to identify the proper graph. The slope is, the y-intercept is 0, 6, and so that means that the correct graph will penetrate someplace, the y-axis someplace up here, 0/6 up. It can't possibly be D, so we'll exclude D. Graph C, however, does go through what could be the point 0, 6, so this is a keeper. Graph B, again, there's no piercing of the y-axis up in here, and so we can exclude it. Graph A, again, this could possibly be 0, 6, and so we have two choices. We've eliminated by looking at just the y-intercept. We've eliminated B and C and B and D, and the answer is either A or C. And we need to go to the second piece of data to figure out the correct answer. The slope is negative, and you know, or you should know, that whenever you enter a graph from the left, if you go down, the slope is negative. If you go up, the slope is positive. So this graph A goes up, it's a positive slope, and we can eliminate it. Whereas graph C appears to go through 0, 6 and has a negative slope. This is the only one of the 4 choices that it could possibly be. Okay, so there you see I've solved this, and I really didn't have to lift my pencil. I would have done this calculation here for the slope and the intercept in my head. I thought I'd do one more before I make that other video on systems of equations. And so what I'm going to do is drag in this one, and it has a slight complication that exists with this technique. The other 2 problems I worked had all addition signs in between the 2 variables. And here this one has a negative subtraction sign, and that's going to create a double negative situation. I'm going to go ahead and use this idea of drawing in the half-formed A, and then what I'm going to do is look at the 2 fractions. Notice I have 5 over negative 3, and so I've written the negative sign out front. This is not the slope. Remember, I said the nuance is you have to put a negative sign in front of whatever 2 numbers you get here when you form up your fraction. So I have to do one more move here, like this. And now that is my slope. Of course, a double negative is positive, and so the slope here is equal to 5/3. So that's the one little trick, is when you have negative signs here or subtraction signs here, and you have to deal with double negatives in that case. Of course, for the y-intercept, it's just this number over this number. So it's 16 over negative 3 or negative 16/3. That is, in fact, the y-intercept. You don't have to do anything to it. So that's the, if you forgive me for saying this, the adult way of finding the slope and the y-intercept without doing any algebra. Simply reading it off the equation itself and knowing a few tricks. Okay, now this really has good power when it comes to systems of equations, and that's what my next video is all about. I'll be seeing you over there.